Well, here it is, Monday morning, about 10, right at 10. How about that? Started on time. 2 days in a row now, Friday and Monday. I'm going to have to stop that. Can't let that just keep going on. And today, I'm going to be, there's a whole pile of stuff here and a box full of things there. I'm going to be unmasking the stuff that I masked on Friday and painted over the weekend. Well, we'll find out what we got, right? It either worked out really well and there's nice pieces that are well painted or not. And after they're unmasked, I should be able to, if I plan this correctly, and there's no guarantee of that, of course, but if it was planned correctly, I will be able to assemble the interior of the service module. And then I will need to do some more taping so that I can finish painting some of the parts that need more than one color. Okay, and you'll see that in a bit. So here we have things, pieces, parts. At the time. So this, we'll just start with this. This is the very base of the service module. Okay, this is the inside of a cover that goes over the bottom, which I believe is one of these. It's one of these anyway, one of these parts. Or if not those parts, these parts. It's my paint mask. There's lots of fine particulates. There, see all sorts of gold painted parts for the inside of the gold painted service module. Yeah, those sorts of parts. I'm gonna take some of these out because that box is in the way. The stream is never rehearsed. Nope. There's usually a plan. That is to say, I'm going to try to get something done today. How about that? The plan usually doesn't get completed. Parts of it usually do, but not all of it. It's unusual for all of it to get done. I'm just going to keep moving these around because if I just keep touching them and moving them and stuff, then I don't really have to do anything. I'm going to leave these in the box. There we go. Put those up there and have these down here. So these gold painted things, I'm going to move the camera up so you can see all the parts. There. My highly sophisticated studio here, consisting of a workbench and a piece of cardboard and paper towels. This is probably the most sophisticated thing that I've got. Here is a set of tweezers. Got some scissors for the tape. Yeah, so mutter. This has to be painted on the other side. Let's take this tape off. This side needs to be painted a different color, as does a tiny little bracket that I hope isn't lost somewhere. I hope I put it somewhere safe. We'll find out. Take the cap off. I'm going to be, yeah, great. So far. Painted. Side and not the other. Here, let me just show you where the debris is piling up. So I'll do that. That's always fun. Let's see, there's going to be trash there. Okay, let's talk about this piece for a little while. So this goes on the very bottom. The nozzle, the Well, no, I'm not going to now because the parts I need are over there. Well, here. Yeah, yeah. The part that I'm concerned about isn't around. I don't know. Anyway, this goes here like this. It gets attached. It's the very base of it, right? That's the nozzle, the bell, the exhaust for the service module engine. It goes in here like this, and then this pushes up into the base of it. And then this, the high gain antenna, goes here. And there's a bracket that holds it, and then it folds out. It either folds out that way or folds out this way. And I need to be sure to get it right. So I'm going to have to look at the instructions for that. These are the interior. These are the parts that I might be assembling today. These 4 things, not these little things. Or that's later. But these 4 things might be assembled into the gold stuff that was painted before. No, I am. Well, we'll get to that later. I really hate reaching over stuff like that. I'm concerned. Oh, geez, it's right here in front of me. Yep. The thing that's hardest to find is the thing that's right in front of you, right? Like those are the floor. This is a container full of containers. These are the brackets for the attitude control reaction things, tiny little things that I painted before. This is the bracket that goes on here that holds the high gain antenna. So when I paint this, I need to remember to paint this as well. Just keep those together. So one thing got unmasked. That was good. This is painted on both sides, so there's no unmasking. This is painted on one side because it's already been painted on the other. So let's just take this off and see what happens. What's happening is that the tape is coming off. And it hasn't pulled off the paint on the other side. This sort of grayish green, I said it right. On Friday, I kept saying blue, green, gray, blue, blue, green, green, blue. I just kept getting it wrong over and over and over. I did, just constantly getting the color wrong. I said it correctly this time. It is gray, green. This is kind of like the primer color, the interior parts. And it's not just this, but there are other interior parts that are painted this color. Hopefully there's enough of it in the spray can to finish. If not, I will buy more. It's a tape here. We're keeping the gold from coming through. I'll show you what those notches are for a little bit later when we get to the assembly part. Or maybe I'll just show them to you now. There, that's that. That's where these fit. There's a small one and a big one. So that the orientation is correct. Anyway, it goes in like that. Have to go in further. I don't know why it doesn't. Because it leaves quite a gap, doesn't it? No. Anyway, that gets put in. I'm probably going to use. I don't understand that. It should fit. It should fit more tightly than that. Maybe I'll I'll clean out the notches a little bit before I assemble it. Just clean out some of the paint, the top and the bottoms anyway, where it isn't going to show. So there's some parts there. These parts are really important. I hope they turned out okay. One is the top and one is the bottom bulkhead of the service module. Maybe I'll save those for last because you never know. These were pretty straightforward. These are just painted that gray-green color because it's, the interior. And the parts that show are especially up here and down here because the bulkheads go here and here. The exterior is all going to be painted white, the same white color as the escape tower. But that will be painted near the end because these two parts fit together. And there's a nasty seam. Boy, that didn't get painted very well. There's a whole part here that didn't get painted very well. Not at all. I mean, I'm going to not unmask this one because it needs to be repainted. Fortunately, I don't need it painted today. I will be using it. I will be using it when I do assembly. Oh my, just look at that. That didn't get painted either. Yeah, I should have looked at these under better light before I brought them down. Okay, so this needs to be repainted. This one probably does also. I'm not so concerned at the top here. That's going to get painted white. But this one this one just didn't come out at all. All the sides, they've got shadowed or something. And I thought I was being careful, but I failed. Okay, well, that isn't going to get unmasked. What can I say? I hope this one came out okay. This was a real pain to mask. And if it didn't, I'm just going to touch it up with brush painting. This is going to require another 2 layers of masking. This part here will end up being painted gold. So sooner than later, I'm going to mask those parts off. What I would like to do, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not, I'd like to keep this side covered. So I'm going to take this stuff off here. This part that is white. Yeah, just not cooperating here. What I was hoping is that I could keep most of this side masked because this has to be painted gold. I'm going to take the tape off and then we'll see. I might be able to salvage some of it. Yeah, this has to come off because this edge. No, that didn't get painted. Okay, well, what I have to say is that my efforts at spray painting this weekend were really not good, especially with this grayish green color. Okay. This needs to be painted. That this edge here is definitely going to show because this is hinged and opens up. There's the top. It hinges here. It opens up and one can see the inside of this. This is on the bottom, but still. Okay. Well, so far, this is like what I did this weekend is turning into like B minus C level work. Okay. So what I want to have happen here is this edge to be painted white. So I'm going to try to salvage as much of what's already there as possible by trimming this off here. And then when I do the masking a little bit later, I need to mask this, but I'll finish masking the edge along here because this interior part is going to be painted gold. I can leave this on pretty much. Try to do the same thing here. Am I getting off camera? Let's see, what else? What else should I tell you about as I'm doing this? I should tell you that there is a band of thunderstorms on the way. It's supposed to arrive, I don't know, like an hour or two from now. Okay. It's the estimated time of arrival is in an hour or two from now. And there is some chance that they will be serious, which means there's a small chance, not a really huge chance, but a small chance that the power might go out. So I'll just let you know that if this stream suddenly stops, it just goes poof. Nope, don't feel like it. Not in the mood. It's probably because there was there was a thunderstorm that knocked the power out. The odds of that happening are pretty slim, but you never know. I mean, it might happen. So I'll just prepare you for the possibility by telling you that what I just said. In the meantime, this looks like it might be mostly okay. Maybe the taping of this edge here is going to be a little bit of an issue. I need to get the tape right on the edge, but not over it. I don't know if you can see where the hinge comes in here. Well, underneath it, Okay, I mean the tape should go on like that, and and if the paint goes over the edge, it's not a huge deal in that I can just scrape it off, as the edge is going to be painted white. But I need gold paint to go into that little line there and on the other side of the hinge. So the tape will be like this, and the gold paint is just going to get on the edge. I'm just going to have to clean it off by taking it off. I can't get the tape right. Getting this covered is more important than not having it on the edge. Talking to myself about what can be corrected and what isn't going to be corrected. Okay, I'm going to well, I'll unmask these two bits, then do some gray green. I said it correctly again. Touch up before going on too terribly much further. This is the top bulkhead. I painted this Wednesday, I think. So there's really nice. All the conduits are nicely detailed. That came out well. And all the parts that are supposed to not be gold look like they're not gold. So far, this is okay. So before doing assembly, I'm going to do some gray-green touch-up because I want that to dry. No, I need these parts. I need these parts for the assembly. I'll explain that in a minute. So these partitions go here and here, okay, and the top and the bottom go on. But these exterior parts go on later, after everything else has been assembled. On the inside, those interior parts come in. That will do. The exterior parts go on later, but it's really important that they be aligned. Okay, that let's just say when putting this together like this with those partitions, okay, there's the possibility that there could be some torsion, but what I'm more concerned about is like movement like this, okay, back and forth. And I'm going to, once it's put together and it's holding, but before it sets so that it's immobile, I'm going to put these into place temporarily so that it holds it in the correct position. I did that with the escape tower. There are things that weren't yet attached permanently, were attached temporarily to hold things in position so that much later on in the assembly process, they would fit together. In that case, it was the top of the command module part where the escape module sets when the thing is completed. There's my wonderfully detailed piping and conduiting on the base of the service module. This is the thing to which this, I'll finish untaping it and I'll show it how it works. Yeah, it's almost as much fun watching the tape come off as it was watching it go on, isn't it? You might say, why don't you just do this like off camera and spare us all of this tediousness, tediousness, tedium. Yeah, that's the noun form. Spare us all this tedium, and show us just the really interesting parts. But nope, I am only doing things off camera that absolutely must be done off camera, which in this case is the spray painting. Anyway, once this is painted, it's going to be painted kind of an off, kind of a grayish white color. It's an exterior part, so it's not an interior part like this, painted the gray green, which I said correctly for the third time. This goes on the radiators, these radiators here line up with these openings. And this goes on like this. This is where the bracket goes holding the high gain antenna, and the exhaust rocket nozzle fits in there. And I'm thinking the only thing that holds that on is the exhaust nozzle. So I'm thinking that that's held on by friction. I could probably test it, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. So that's the bottom, that's the top. This just needs some touching up. Touching up. This needs respraying. This all needs to be tossed away. I'll put it on the floor. There. It's out of the way. Okay. So this needs touching up. This needs respraying. This needs taping. This has to be taped so that just this part shows. I'll do that later, and then this will be painted gold. And then there'll be a bunch more taping in the other direction, and then the outside will be painted white. The assembly part, this is the assembly part, is two stages. One is this gets attached here like this, and you can see that there's a fair amount of play in there. It wiggles, right? So what I will be, let's see, this is the bottom. So this is the bottom like this. You can tell because the notches are in different places. They were very thoughtful. Sometimes they're not, in terms of getting things so you could tell which way is up and which way is down. So this fits in like this. This goes in like that. Okay. Like this. And then the top goes on like that. So the way I'm going to do this is first get this to fit better. I'm going to clean out the notches a little bit. I'm going to use contact cement on this and just put some on the tabs and some in here, some in the little gaps. And the reason I'm going to use contact cement is that, as you saw, this kind of moves around, right? And if I cemented this in and the cement set, I couldn't be sure that the angle would be right. So I want this to be able to move, and the contact cement gives me a little bit of time to do that. First of all, I wanted to fit in there better. The other thing I'm do this with great delicacy is plain white paper down here is open up, just make a little smaller, just the very, very inside of the tabs. Like this little file, it's a square file, because that might be what's holding it up a little bit. And I want to do this without marring the surface. Right. Don't mar the surface. Just get the edge. And this is an okay thing to do anyway, because even though the contact cement does adhere to the paint, unlike some model cements where it just dissolves the paint. Yeah, I should have done this before I painted it. I thought I had test fit all of this before, but the test fitting before and after painting, I guess, are different animals. Too much yet. Not sure what I can talk about much today. Like I said, the last couple of streams, I've been running out. I've been running out of things to talk about. I'm just going to pull out just some of the paint, because this has been these little slots have now been painted over twice. Once with the gray green, which I have now said correctly many times in a row, and then a little bit of the gold. Contact cement is just going to go in the tabs here. Pretty much the purpose is going to be to hold this, in place. The real adherence, okay, that's much better. Still not perfect. Still a little bit of a gap, but it's way less than it was. On the top here yet. So I wanted to hold on to this, but it needs to be able to flex left and right so that I can get it into the slot. But the real adherence is the slots on the top and the bottom. Yeah. Television theme songs. I did the whole bit about how Gilligan's Island theme song was revised so that And the Rest became the Professor and Marianne, and how I found out that Bob Denver, who was Gilligan, was the one who actually advocated to make that happen, as he was thoughtful about the people who made his show cool. Anyway, there. I guess that's about as good as it's going to get. So I'm not going to mess with it anymore. Take a chance. What I am going to do now is I'm going to clear the paint off a little bit on the tops and the bottoms here. That I'm going to be using model cement on this. And the less paint there is, the more likely it is that it will actually adhere. Be nice. And I'm going to do the inside of those slots as well. Sure, I need to see how this fits on here. Okay. So if there's adhesive in sides, I don't think I need much in the middle. I was tempted to maybe put some here, the round part, but I don't think I'm going to. You can see I'm going to clean a little bit of this paint off here, just on the back of this. The fuel sump tank was up against this. This is the only point. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. It's the only point where there is adhesion there. It comes in from the front and has to stick to this. Anyway, that's what will happen. I want to clean out a little bit this channel. For people who really know how to do modeling for a living are appalled at this. They would have made sure that there was like a little piece of tape down in the inside of that, so that when all of this was painted over and over again, paint would never have been on the surface, and it would have stayed on there through the primer and through the different levels of gold and gray green. But I'm not a master painter. I'm not a master modeler. I am an old guy trying to do B work, occasionally B plus, and at the same time talking about old stuff. And then the same thing back here. This is the top. So the top of the tank needs to adhere to this this little arc back here. Yeah, be a pain to get on. To somehow get adhesive onto that without getting it on everything else. I think I'll probably use contact cement for that too, because it's just won't be the only way. Okay. So this is the top, and this is the bottom, and these are the bits that need to be assembled. To decide if I'm ready for this or not. Put a paper towel down in here because the cardboard sometimes can be kind of abrasive, and I don't want to rub off the paint. Okay, so the top, let me just grab the bottom here. I talked about using these bulkheads, not the bulkheads, but these are the bulkheads. These things. Okay, why? Why I'm going to use these things? I'm going to use these things because they eventually get attached like this. Okay, I need to make sure that when these are pieced together, these are, yeah, you can see they don't fit extremely well. When these are actually pieced together, okay, that they're not, that they will be aligned, that I'll be able to get them on. Anyway, this is how that works. Then there's one up here that's supposedly holding everything together up on the top, and then this opens like that. And then this other small piece fits in here in this gap. Hi, welcome. I am working on the Apollo service module. Right now I'm test fitting things before I start actually cementing them together. And this is the service module, and this part here that's all painted gold has a bunch of components, tanks and things like a hydrogen tank and an oxygen tank and fuel cells and a sump that will all fit in there after the parts are assembled and held nicely together, hopefully. So the sequence I'm going to use is attach this to this with contact cement so that there's some flexibility in terms of rotation like that. And then I'm going to put cement into those channels and then set this down into it. Hold it in place for just a bit. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is supposed to be relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons, so I hope it's relaxing. It's mostly relaxing and calming until something gets messed up. Okay. And then it's oops. And sometimes the level of stress in my voice will accelerate significantly. Hopefully at the moment it is okay. Is that not painted? Sometimes it's hard to tell. No, it's gold painted. Anyway, that's how parts flop around. So holding this together, as I've test fit this a couple of times, it's really a pain. Okay, so I need to get it onto here so that it holds just enough so I can turn it over and then take that and assemble it in here like that. And then hold that until it holds together and then put these exterior components on to make sure it's in alignment. And if the adhesive doesn't adhere, or whatever the correct word would be, if it doesn't stick, if the adhesive doesn't stick, then it comes apart and I'll try something else. I'm still wondering why there is such a gap there. Is it bumping? I mean, it's not horrible. It's closer on the bottom than it is on the top. It's like there's something, and I can't see it. You know, the gap is there, and it's not the tab anymore. Just don't understand. There should be like practically no gap there, and there just is. I don't want to start filing the edge because that could just make it worse. Well, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. And thanks for joining in to Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. What I will be doing is talking a bit about what Dice and Dungeons really is. We are a Dungeons and Dragons show, which streams with a live chat on Sundays. And the one this last Sunday was one of the better episodes. You can catch the old ones on YouTube if you didn't catch them on the stream on Twitch. And yeah, it's just really fun. I'll just say that it's fun to do and it's fun to watch and fun to listen to. And this particular show, this painting show, modeling show, started out as the creation of the dungeon tiles, like the dungeon tiles you would have seen if you saw the episode that streamed on Sunday. And I'll show those a little bit later, but now I kept promising I'm going to do assembly, so despite the fact that I'm not happy with this fit and I can't figure out how to improve it, so it is just going to be what it is. I am going to start the assembly. I'm going to be using this in the channels. I'm just going to hopefully I don't want to put it on these edges because it'll flow and mar the paint. So I'm just going to put it down in these channels and then set it down into it so that the cement doesn't mar the surface, hopefully. So I'll be using those channels, make sure that it's working. Oh my, there's always something, right? In this particular case, the something is that the little needle, okay, the needle through which the cement is supposed to be very carefully hollow tube, a tiny little hollow tube, right? Oh my, there's I just have to laugh. There's always something. Um, so this cap goes over it, right there. Put it on camera. This cap goes over it, and it's supposed to pull on and off. And this part, which is the hollow metal tube that fits in here that guides the application of the cement, is supposed to have stayed in there. But no, that isn't what happened. What happened instead is that it's stuck in the cap and not in there. I don't know. And it's stuck in there really well. I hate to use a pliers because this is, if I squeeze that tube, then it's not going to work. Well, here you're seeing, yeah, this is where my calming voice probably should stop being calming. It's like, how could that possibly happen? I mean, seriously, how could it really happen? And what am I going to do to get it out? Well, this is a little digression here as I attempt to pull this tube, microscopic little tube, out of the cap without damaging the tube. And yeah, I don't want to damage the cap either because that's what keeps it from drying in the container. I don't have one, a whole new one just because of this. I already had one that failed. I had, it was a different brand, the same sort of applicator, and it didn't have a metal tube like that. It was just a plastic thing, and there was a plug on the inside of it. Seriously, there was a plug on the inside of the applicator tip that dissolved in the cement, and I ended up just not being able to use it. I had to throw the whole thing away. I don't know how long this is going to take. It is really stuck. It's almost like the only. Okay. Wow, that was. Maybe that's what happened. Okay, this plastic is not supposed to dissolve in the cement, but it looks like there's cement that got around the outside of the tip here, and it cemented itself to the inside of the cap. Let's see if I can get this to work. I'm going to put this back in. That. And we'll see if anything comes out. Yes, it hasn't, it's not a disaster. I guess I need to be careful to wipe that off. That off before putting the cap back on. Don't want this one yet. I want the contact cement. The contact cement is not very liquid, it's a gel. That's the downside of it, which makes the application of it. See, there you go. This is cap sticking to cement. Thanks for joining in. What we are doing today is finding out how the caps of various adhesives stick to the adhesives. In this case, you just missed the applicator tip being jammed into the cap. And in this particular case, it is contact cement. And That has adhered to the cap. I'm now trying to get it out. Yeah, there's that. And I'm hoping that I can actually get some out of here. I have this little tiny little micro tube. It comes out very gel-like, which makes the application of it a little bit difficult. Oh, yeah, a stretch would be good. I think this was a sample that came with something else, and I've used it with great success many times. And so once the sample is done, I'll probably invest in the real thing. Thank you for the follow. Thank you. Well, what you're finding out in the first 5 minutes of you watching this is that if things can go wrong, they will go wrong. If it's something that can't possibly go wrong, it will go wrong. And if it can go wrong, either possibly or impossibly, it will happen on this stream. Because this, I like to say to the people who are watching, especially as they are coming on, that this in fact is a how not to show. If you really want to know how to build models and do painting, applying contact cement very carefully with the tip of a toothpick, I have only the most expensive professional materials: paper towels, cardboard, toothpicks. I advertise this. I will promote this as a how not to show, because if you really want to know how to do this well, this is not the stream for you. On the other hand, if you want to be somewhat entertained by someone, making stuff up as they go along, because they never learned how to do this as a kid, and they never read the books. And anyway, yeah, this is that kind of place. So I'm trying to get the contact cement to adhere to the inside of this slot, which is sort of is. Fortunately, the back of this is not going to show. Yeah, that's really true. That's another thing about this particular stream is I usually talk about at the beginning of the stream or at the end of the stream, I talk about what I'm hoping to accomplish during the stream that is about to be shown, or what will happen the next stream. And then I say, oh, there might not be enough to fill the entire time. And what happens is that it ends up, everything takes not quite twice. I'd say like 80% longer. So what I'm usually planning to do is it doesn't all get done. So like what I'm planning to do today, I was planning to unmask, and I did. I unmasked all but one of the things that I painted over the weekend, and then I found out that it was very badly sprayed. It didn't cover very well. There are a couple of other places that need to have touching up done. I really need to what I really need to do is have better lighting in the place where I do the spraying. And not only better lighting, but I also need to have better eyesight. And then I need to check the stuff that I did in good light before because I sprayed this stuff on Saturday, and there was plenty of time, the rest of Saturday and even on Sunday to have fixed the problem. But I didn't do that. Okay. So I'm using the this contact cement because it grips. Okay, and that's what I really want, is I want this to like stick on here, but I also need it to be able to wiggle. So that when I put it into here, if it's not perfectly lined up, like it's not, I can get it to line up. Okay, like that. But it's not falling off. Okay, the not falling off part is important. Okay, so the next part, since this is now sort of adhering, is taking this stuff and take off my glasses. I can't see. Those are like trifocals. Okay. And the problem with the trifocals is that there is a part that focuses up close, but it's this minuscule little bit of the lens. Got some on there. Hopefully that won't show very much once it dries. Okay, so now I need to fit this in all of the slots. Hold it correctly. Got a little bit of cement came out there. I thought no, I don't want that. Ah! Yeah, I just have to touch that up. There's too much cement and it oozed out of the slot. So I'm going to have a little gold paint touch-up going on here. And I want this to stick just well enough. Okay. Need to be able to turn this over and get that part to stick to this. So we'll be doing this again. Hopefully not too much. That there for a bit. Actually, okay, you haven't been in on this. So what this is the service module for the Apollo spacecraft. Let me show this to you. Here, this is the model. I've completed the escape tower. Okay, this. And I'm working on the service module now. And the service module opens up. There's a hinged panel that opens up. And the interior shows there's pieces of like tanks, basically, tanks on shelves that go on the inside of this. And after this sets, hopefully it will set and not all come apart and be lined up. I might even be able to install those yet today, but I'll show those to you later. I need to get this in here. Okay, that fits. All right. I'm going to hold that for a bit just to set it in place. This is the base, okay, of it. These are 4 fuel tanks of various and sundry kind, and in here is the rocket nozzle, the service module. This is the bottom of it. So the gold parts, and believe it or not, for a lot of the Apollo was painted gold or gold plated. In fact, a lot of the LEM was, and I think a lot of that was just it it allowed them to control the temperature, and it didn't corrode. Yeah, so that was important. Let's see these. So I'm putting this on temporarily. This is the outside of it, and the reason I'm doing this is that this needs to go on later, and so these parts will need to line up. And it would be really good if before the cement set, okay, before the cement set, oh, I can't do that yet. This part has to go on. This part here is hinged. Okay, this is going to be painted gold on the inside, and there's more tanks and stuff that go on here. This part is hinged so that it will open up. Ah, man, see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Is holding this in place while it all lines up. That was not good. That was a bad thing that happened. Bad model. Bad Apollo. Misbehaving Apollo. So it's like I could just hold this like this and hope that it lined up. Okay, but I can't be sure. I can't be sure. Okay, there's flaws. There's, places where I need to touch up the gold paint. There's a part that didn't get painted at all. So I'm not going to respray it, but anyway. So the gray-green is like an aluminum primer, like you'd see on a commercial airliner before it's painted. The gray-green is like an aluminum primer in the interior of the model. Okay, like this is the top of it. The interior bits of it would be painted that. It's just not fitting the way it should. Yeah, I'm really baffled now. Okay, that's something is wrong. Okay, you know what? I don't know what was wrong before. The parts just weren't fitting at all. But I want this, I'm putting it on like that so that I know that these will fit later. Okay, that's why I'm doing this. So that these are going to like hold it together. Hopefully. I can squeeze it top and bottom. And hopefully that will work. I'm a little disappointed, actually a lot disappointed, that I need to do gold touch up on the inside. The cement oozed out on one spot. This is why, like this, the top of this, the conduits, the detail in the conduits got painted really pretty well. But the this is why I end up doing B work, because I end up with a situation where the cement oozed out. I mean, I thought I had it right, but when I stuck the part in, it oozed up over and melted the paint and screwed up the finish. Great. So I need to do that touch up. And then I looked at it again, and there was a part that wasn't even painted to begin with. So even though it's spray paint, I will use a brush to do the touching up. Just holding this. I don't want to hold it for very long, but this opens to show the interior. And then there's another panel. This panel goes here, and that fits in later. I'm not going to mess with it right now. Well, there it goes on like that. The downside is that there will be this big gap here that I'm going to have to. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. This seems to be okay. It should be held for a while yet, and I shouldn't be touching it with oily fingers. That's another no if you're a real modeler. But there it is. So I did this bit, and after break, hopefully this will have set up enough so that I can feel safe in opening this up at least, if not taking the panels off, that I can install some of the interior stuff. Well, this is an unfortunate situation right now in that I have not made any plans for how to keep some pressure on here while the cement is setting, other than holding it like this. And holding it like this, I could potentially just hold on to it with one hand and do something with the other hand, but the other things require two hands, like taping stuff. Okay, like this thing here needs to be taped around the edge here so that I can paint the bottom of it. Yes, so I'm stuck here holding this I should hold it for another almost 10 minutes. What can I do while I'm holding this? What can happen? I can do is I can show you this. I can show you the instruction manual. Yeah. It actually fits together pretty well. I'm kind of surprised. So the thing that I built already, here's the parts list, the very, very useless painting instructions. This is a waste of everybody's time, really, but I have to keep holding this. Otherwise, there's a chance that it would fall apart. There's actually a chance that it will fall apart even later after I've held it for 10 minutes. I hope it doesn't, but there's a chance it might. So these are the bits to the escape tower, and the escape tower came out B. It came out as a B. Putting this lattice work, this trellis work together was a real pain. That was very hard to do, at least for me, having clumsy fingers and bad eyesight. But it actually came out pretty well, and there's a chance that later on in the stream I might show the escape tower just to do it, just to show that in fact something happened. The command module, I'm delaying putting together the command module for now because the model, I don't know if you can see it here, the interior is sort of visible in that there's a little hatch that opens. You can open the little hatch, the tiny little hatch here on the command module, and look inside. But this very, very complicated set of control panels is extremely poorly made. There's like slightly raised edges on all of these, but they're supposed to be like buttons and TV screens, CRT screens back then, because they didn't even have LCD screens. And it's like, I'd love to have the detail done, but I don't know how to get it done. If I knew the scale of this model, I could get, actually, I had almost gotten a set of stickers that were made for another command module model that would go on here, but I don't think they're the right scale. And when I saw them, I saw pictures of them. They really were, they just looked like stickers. It was like, it would just make the inside look bad. What's kind of cool is it comes with astronauts. Okay, there's 3 astronauts that sit in the 3 couches inside the command module. So they sit on these couches, and then there's more very badly detailed control panel that is a real waste of time to paint and put together. Get the windows, the clear parts of this model. Usually, if you get a model that's like this thick, there's clear parts that are molded in clear plastic. In this case, they're not. There's this tiny little strip of clear plastic. It's kind of like carry-out container covers, and they give you these templates that, with scissors, they show you just hack it up with scissors, but make them exactly these sizes, and then they're somehow or other supposed to adhere to the insides of the module here. And that's the little hatch with the little hinge pins, so you can open it up. And then the parts all come together, and the outside is painted white. So the part I'm working on now is the service module. I'm doing this because I have to hold this for like another 5 minutes. These are actually completed. They're in a box over there that you can't see because it's off camera. These components are completed. And what happens is, this is what I just did now, is I put these parts together here. This just got done. This is finished too. And then after this sets, which will be after break, I'm not going to mess with it until then, these things here get inserted. And I'm not going to do that. I have to do some gold touch-up painting. And then I'm going to put these in. And hopefully they'll go in without too much argument. Okay. Yeah, here's a thing. Anyway, this is why this is B work and not A work, okay? So I didn't notice this before, but I should have paid attention. So if I were really, really, really compulsive about this, and I might be yet, I'm not sure, this is all painted gold, and these are painted like a dark silver. The shelves in which these tanks are embedded is a darker color than the tanks themselves, so there's some contrast. But they go in, and there's these little tabs. Look, there's a little slot and a little tab for alignment. Is that tab is going to be gold, and the shelf is going to be the dark silver color. And so there's going to be like this little gold rectangle showing when it should be that dark silver color. Oh my. So what I need to decide is that after this is set, and I do the gold paint touching up on the base here where the cement oozed out a little bit, or on the side of that where it didn't get spray painted adequately, is I might fit one of these in, like this one where the tab is near the front. Okay. I might fit that one in just to see if it fits, for one thing, because it might not. That's another problem, right? And see how badly that tab shows. And if I'm really brave, I will get out this darker silver color and paint the top of that tab that color so that it matches and doesn't have just a little gold thing show. I'll probably end up trying to do that. And then the door, this one that hinges open that I showed you, this is painted gold on the inside. It will be painted gold. It isn't yet. And then these little tanks that are also in that box that you can't see fit into this panel on the side of the door. And then these go around it. And there's the rocket nozzle. These are tiny little parts. These are attitude control nozzles. There's 16 of them, 4 each mounted on 4 brackets, and those get attached to the outside of the service module. And then this is the high gain antenna with the bracket that goes there. So there's still a lot of work to be done on this, some of which is going to be kind of, difficult, some of which is still going to be straightforward and easy, like cementing these brackets to the outside of this isn't going to be all that hard. And I want to do that before I paint it the glossy white color. But then after all that's done, I have to attach these rice grain size nozzles to these infinitesimally small little positioning brackets for each. Anyway, that can't be done until the whole thing is painted white. So it's like the last thing to be finished. So that'll be fun to watch as I fumble with those. They say, oh yeah, cement them on before attaching it. Oh, what the heck? Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll follow the instructions rather than trying to attach them after it's cemented on. I was thinking of cementing the brackets on first so that they would all be painted the same white. Okay. But I think that's going to be impossible. I think that will be an impossible task. So I'll probably spray paint those white and attach the little rocket nozzles and then attach them to the service module exterior as one of the last things. So eventually this will get done and it will be really cool looking. And that will be the 2 out of the 4 components of the model. Then I'm going to work on a lunar excursion module. Okay, the LEM. The LEM is pretty cool. The real LEM around here was wrapped in gold foil. And when I got the model, I looked at it and said, I'm going to buy gold foil. But I don't have to because they actually provided it with the model. It is not cut to shape. It is just a sheet of Mylar film, okay, that needs to be cut in shape and attached somehow, and it doesn't tell you how, to the exterior of the LEM. So that'll be interesting. There's a lot of little fiddly parts. These little fiddly parts actually have hinges because they're the landing struts, and the landing struts folded up. They fold onto it, and then like the ramp, they fold down. So there's a lot of working parts to this. And then there's even standing on the moon astronauts, okay, that get painted in their moon suits. Then there's this whole base. So this base, these are pretty big parts. I might actually do this before the LEM because that'll be more relaxing. Is that the lunar excursion module sits inside of this base. Okay, it actually fits in there, and these panels fold up. And then once all of this is done, you can reenact. Seriously, you can reenact the Apollo mission because all of the parts come apart. So the thing is there. This is on top of the Saturn V. It takes off successfully. The escape tower is no longer needed, so you jettison it along with the booster protective cover. Okay. Now revealing the docking hatch. You can take the service command module combination, flip it around, open up the docking station for the LEM, attach them, pull the LEM out. Okay. I'm just filling time here while I'm hoping this is setting. Fly to the moon after you extend your high gain antenna. Fly to the moon. Detach the LEM. Land it on the moon. There's even a fake moon surface lunar base thing that's supposed to be painted. So you can land it, extend the landing legs and land it. And then when you're done walking around on the moon and collecting moon rocks and stuff, the ascent stage separates from the descent stage, docks with the service module. You head home. You throw away the LEM, goodbye LEM. You throw away the service module, goodbye service module, and land your command module. The only thing that's missing here is that there aren't any parachutes. You know, it would be impossible probably, but it would be pretty cool to have like parachutes that could come out so that you could, anyway, yeah. So that's why this model is really cool, because it contains all of the components of the Apollo system, and they come apart, so you can play with them and break them after spending a year and a half building the model. Then you can reenact the lunar mission and break all the parts. Pretty cool, huh? So I'm getting, whoa, okay. Well, my fingers are now in the shape of the components I was holding, and my hand is cramped. That was good. I'm hoping now that if I let this go, it will stay stuck together. Well, shall we find out? I'm not going to take these parts off yet. I'm just going to set it down like that and set it aside. And while I'm going to take after break, I'm going to try to put the parts in. Okay, I got a lot of touching up to do after break. But before break, what I am going to do is I'm going to get this box of parts here. Take the parts that I'm going to be installing, hopefully. These bits get installed later. Put these back. These bits, which are off camera, I'm not going to move that. I don't want to mess with it. So I'm going to just show them to you. So this is what I was talking about here. See this little gap here? That fits into a tab on one of the inside gold panels. And you can see that what will happen is when I install that tab is going to be gold, and it will very much contrast. Not just contrast, but it'll look bad. So when I get the gold paint out and I do some touching up, I'm also going to get this color paint out, which I believe is dark aluminum. I hope that's the correct color. And then there's a tab on this one too. This one's way in the back, but I'll see what I can do about it. But these tabs will show. That's in the back. That's in the back. So yeah, I'm gonna try my best to do stuff I probably don't need to do, but I hate to get this far into it and then have this tab show as gold when it should be the same color as the bracket shelf thing to which this is attached. I even went through the trouble of painting the bracket shelf a darker color than the tanks so that there was a nice contrast. So that's another reason why I just want to do my best to, you can see it better with these. That's a hydrogen tank. This is oxygen, and these are fuel cells. They're supposed to be anyway. Okay, so one of the reasons things don't get done as quickly as I say they will be done is because after this is actually cemented together and held and hopefully won't fall apart, and I start to install these, I find things like, oh, I need to touch up a place where there's gold paint because the cement oozed out, and I was really upset about that. That I need to touch it up. So I need to get some gold spray paint into a little thing with a little brush and do some touching up. And then I say, oh no, I didn't pay attention to this. I need to paint tiny little tabs, this color, this dark aluminium color, so that these don't look stupid once they're installed. And I don't know at this point whether or not they'll actually fit. So we'll see. What may end up happening is that as I attempt to get these to fit, this will fall apart. That could be pretty exciting. Right, not. Okay, this part is just going to be touch up here at the top. But these are the parts that might get installed yet during this stream, depending on how it goes. While I'm waiting for this to set, I'm just going to take the time necessary to tape this so that this is ready for spray painting. This and this little bracket get painted tomorrow. Yeah, so I've got this tape. I use this tape on the primed areas so that it doesn't pull the tape off later. And then I'll cut off a little piece of paper and use some blue tape to finish taping it to this here. I'm taping this side. Wow, yeah. I'm taping this side to cover up this paint so I don't paint it over. The taping the edge like this is okay. I want this edge to be painted that color, not this color. The color this will be painted, which is an off-white kind of color. So I want this tape to just go over the edge of the painted surface below it, but not too far because I don't want it to fold over or shadow the thing underneath it. This is the color I'm going to use for touching up. Just trimming this down. Like I said, I want it to just barely extend over the edge. And this is kind of tedious because it's a round surface, you know, it's not straight. So I need to do this like little bits at a time. Yes. I've discovered in the past, the tape will stick to fingers and scissors and tweezers, and it usually sticks to those surfaces way better than it does to the surface to which it is being applied. Yep. Okay. As I'm doing this, I'll explain that this bit here has got cement that is hopefully, I'll find out after break when I take the temporary installation. These are temporarily installed to hold it in place to make sure that the parts fit later. When I take that apart to show the interior where these parts hopefully will get installed if they fit, after I do a bunch of touching up paint that I didn't know that I needed to do, but now I know for sure I do need to do. Okay, I need to push tape down onto that because I don't want the color here to come through. So while I'm taping, little detail stuff. It's this bits here. Okay. Someone painted this color, and so the tape pushed down onto that surface, which is not what I wanted. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that ends up not being sprayed because I wasn't as careful as I should be when I was spray painting, right? It's still doing that. So I need to, what I'm going to do is go backward. And very uncarefully the parts of the tape here that are a problem. I didn't expect the radiator openings to be an issue, but they are. It is not unusual as I am doing these things to find out that something that I had no idea could possibly be a problem ends up being a problem. I want to tape this so that the paint doesn't get inside, but I also don't want to cover up the edges. So there. Oh, yeah, this should probably have taken like 10 minutes to do, but it's taking longer for two reasons. One is an unanticipated issue with the radiator opening, and the other is I'm just slow. Other one then too, in the same fashion as the one I just did. And maybe it'll turn out okay. We'll see. I'm going to keep doing this taping here. And I don't mean recording the show. That's an archaic term, isn't it? When things actually used to be taped. It's like, broadcasting something when things actually used to be broadcast. Or footage. That's another term that's archaic. Back in the day, when footage actually meant feet of film before even taping. Okay, taping wasn't footage, even though you could end up using feet of tape. Recording tape, electromagnetic recording tape. Footage just refers to how many feet of film you used to record something. Remember the origins of these words. So I'm doing this. This is going a little faster this way, is using bigger pieces of tape and then hopefully using the scissors to trim it away from the edge so it doesn't flop over and cover the edge. Doing this, I need to cover this hole. That would be bad if I didn't. Keep going around here. Started to get a little impatient. Getting impatient never works out, I have found. It doesn't make things go faster. What it does is it makes them go 2 or 3 times, not 2 or 3 times as long. I mean, they have to be redone 2 or 3 times because it's like, oh, I was impatient and I messed up, and ooh, I made a mess of this, and uh-oh. Speaking of which, that is a feature of this stream that someday I might get. I've talked with our DM, Alexis Bates, who is also the person who does all the tech stuff, making this highly sophisticated studio consisting of a leftover Ring camera and a leftover microphone and a leftover Stream Deck. And anyway, yeah, this isn't a studio. This is just a collection of leftovers. There's another spot that didn't get sprayed right. So I'm going to be doing a bunch of gray-green. I said it right again. Why am I celebrating that? Because on Friday, I could not say the color right. I called it everything but what it is, including shades of blue, which is definitely not what it is. Anyway, yeah, so I'm celebrating the small success at being able to name this color. Like, just a couple more spots where just it's going to show. So after this is all put together, I'll probably be doing some touching up around the edges, and hopefully the paint will be thin enough and the spots that are being covered will be small enough that it will level and not show brush marks. That remains to be seen. So far, when I have done touching up, it's been successful that way. It's been successful in not showing a lot of brush marks. Piece, and then I'll get a piece of paper. The rest of this. And then it'll be about time for break. That might be the one thing that's actually working out, is the timing of the break here. I really hope that's holding together. It'll be so much better if it holds together than if it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, showing that. I don't know. No, I mean, these pieces have to fit, and that's how they fit. And I don't want the tight anyway. We'll see what happens after break. I'm cautious. I really don't know what to expect in terms of whether that thing's going to hold together and how many flaws there are and how badly they show. Especially the gaps. And always, what really annoys me about these plastic models is that the parts don't fit that well. And so there's just gaps, and sometimes they can't be filled. They're just in a place, or it's a certain, stage of the assembly or construction, and it's like nothing can be done. They just are going to be there. And I can see one already. There's a gap down there. And it's just going to be there because this thing, that's why I tested the bulkhead. Even though it shows up as a gap, at least the part fits, and that part is the hinged part. So it needs to be able to open and close without rubbing the paint off completely each time it opens and closes. Okay, Maybe I should cover up the part that I don't want painted and not the part that I do. There we go. I can just use this much less expensive blue painter's tape to attach this because I'm taping to the tape. I use the other stuff where it touches the painted surface because I don't want to pull the paint off. Well, either the thunderstorms haven't arrived yet or they're missing us. That happens with some frequency here, is that there'll be storms, a big line of storms coming, and then they end up going either north or south of us. It's weird. I'm not sure if it's because we're like in a little valley or something. I don't know. But unless it's a really, really powerful front with some frequency, the storms go either north or south or both. Do not lose power. Do not know what that is, but it's very loud. Guess I'll find out because I'm going on break. And I'll go upstairs and say, what's that rumbling? Okay, well, this is masked. And I got little bits of tape all over my fingers. So what will happen is this in this bracket, I attached it to this piece of cardboard with two-sided tape so that when I spray it, it doesn't go flying from the force of the spray. These will be painted this color. If I wanted to, I could even spray paint them over break. I might do that. I'll take them up with me. There's no reason why I can't that I can think of, really. Okay. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let this set over break and then come back and see what I've got. Hopefully all I've got is some gold paint touch-up that I need to do and some tabs that need to be painted dark aluminum. That will be painting. I didn't expect to be doing painting today, but I definitely need to do some gold touch-up, and I probably should, in order to make this look decent, paint the tabs so that when this is installed, okay, that I don't have a little piece of gold sticking up there. And if my hand is steady and I don't anyway, hopefully it will work out okay. I'm gonna use this itty bitty little brush here. This stuff, clean this up, get it out of the way because it will be in the way. I could put stuff away. I will be back in more or less a half hour. Okay. I'm going to take these parts up, probably spray paint them over break. So it doesn't much matter. I mean, I could do them over break. I could do them tomorrow. And I may or may not get them done. I'm not sure. I won't promise. But otherwise, they'll just be sitting here. And if I spray paint them over break, they'll be dry enough to bring down. I can bring this down because it's on a piece of cardboard. I can probably set this on a piece of cardboard as well. I'll do that. And then I don't have to touch them. I can bring them up even if they're still wet without touching them. Hold on. I happen to have all sorts of little pieces of cardboard everywhere. Because we get boxes, and boxes generate cardboard. So I can set this on there. If I set this on here, then I can carry it. I might even put it on this bigger piece, which gives me more things to carry. And then I can actually set this one on there as well. There. So I'm going to take this up and spray paint it. And then I can show it to you after break. And then I'll take this apart and either I'll celebrate, yay, all I need to do is some paint touching up, or, oh no, how awful, if in fact I end up having to just re-cement everything. I don't know. Not sure how it will work out. Thanks for watching so far. I will be back in more or less a half hour. Usually it's more. I think only once has it been less than a half hour, but I'll be back after break showing this having been painted and taking the exterior off and looking at the interior and deciding what needs to be done depending on what happens. This is the inside that doesn't show. Okay, see you in a bit. Thanks for watching so far. Dyson Dungeon says, if I want to take a break, push the start break button. It's back. I have to express surprise every time anything works. Because sometimes, whatever. Anyway, I did paint this. Maybe you can't really tell, but now it's sort of an off-white, kind of brownish color. Anyway, this bit here goes over that. That's the cover of the bracket, and that's where the high gain antenna goes at some point when this is part of the assembly. So what probably should be done with this is that it should go here. I'm going to take it off the tape. I'm going to make this smaller because there's no need for it to be that big because it takes up too much room in the box there. Now it takes up less room in the box and you can't really see it, but there, it's in the box. And I'll just put the paper towel back over it. Okay, well, was it a short break? Yeah, I guess it was 25 minutes. Well, hi, who are you going to want to flip? I'm going to ask for a flip. Better do it now before I take this apart and see what happened. Okay, I will do the flip, and then I'm anxious about this. We'll see how it turned out. Flip this bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five to 1, don't paint. That's unfortunate because, well, if this held together, then I've got a bunch of touch-up painting to do. So that came up 5 to 1, don't paint. So does that bode ill? Does that mean this is all going to fall apart and I won't be doing any touch-up painting because I'm going to try to have to figure out how to get it to hold together. I don't know. What I do know is I can't get anywhere until I take this off. Because stuff okay, that this hinges, and this is working. The hinges are working. Okay, but I can't do anything with that attached. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to put this back on. There. I'm putting this back on to continue holding things in place. Because this is in the back. Okay. It's not in the way of anything, but it will hold things in place. Okay. What I need to do here is there's places like here that needs gold touch up. This didn't get painted. That needs gold touch up. I'm unhappy about some of the gaps. You know, a really good modeler at this point, I mean, someone who was an A level modeler, not a B plus level modeler, would say this is a piece of the contact cement that needs to come off. That's the nice thing about it is that I can actually, if I have the right tools, that little blob, I need the other tweezers. Tweezers with an angle point on it. So I need to get this. There, it's gone. Okay, so this is the difference between. This is why I was tempted to paint this after it was assembled. Okay, is that there's the gap along here, there's a gap along the bottom. Okay, and in an ideal world of master modeling, I would get some filler, and I would have a filler that gave the right texture, which I do not have, and I'd fill in all these spots. Okay, I would just fill them in, and it would look a lot better. But there's two reasons why I'm not going to do that. One is the fillers I have. I've got 3, and none of them will work on this setting. Is the ideal would be to fill in these gaps down here, okay, where this tab is, and sand it down, and the surface texture would be the same as this, and so when it was painted over, you would never know it was there. The closest I have to that is the auto body putty, which when sanded down does give a surface really close to this, and when you paint it over, it hardly ever shows at all. Okay, but it melts the plastic, and so, I mean, it would fill this in, but if it overlapped a little bit, it would melt the plastic underneath, and it would all be distorted even more than it is. Okay, that's the primary reason, is I don't have anything that would actually work as a filler. The other reason is that even if it did, my skill at being able to sand this down let's just say it's fairly limited. I'm not sure I could. So what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to get some of the gold paint. I'm going to have to spray it into a container. And I need to touch this up because there was, unfortunately, some of the cement oozed out. And that's not good. And then there's a spot here. Looks like it just wasn't painted. And I'm keeping this on. This isn't attached. It eventually will be, because it's holding things in place. It'll just hold it. Okay, so there's that. I need to do some gold paint touch up. And then there are these things. This one goes here, like that. Okay, and so that went on really easily. I hope the rest are the same. But the problem is, like right here, see it? See where the tab is? No, okay. It's really obvious that that's a tab. And if I paint it the same color, it will just look like there's a gap there. So what I'm going to say is that even though I talked about doing this, I'm not going to. I'm going to say that that's like a bracket, that was intentional as part of the design of this whole thing. So this one goes there. That fits. Let me fit the rest of these in. I'm going to put these in using no, I should use regular model cement, but I didn't prepare the surfaces. See how that fits? That's actually pretty cool. And then this last one goes up on top. Let's see if this one fits too. Yeah, that's how that's going to look. And then this tank slides in like this. I don't want that seam to show. So I don't want it to slide in like that. I want it to slide in kind of like this. Actually, on the submarine I did this, is that there were certain parts of the submarine that I just never cemented. Friction just held them. And even though it's likely this will move around, I'm just going to let friction hold it rather than trying to cement it in. Okay? I'm hoping that will work. It might be. I might put like a little touch, just a little touch of contact cement. No, I'm not going to cement it. I think that will hold just as it is. These need to be, obviously these need to be adhesived in because they fall out. So I'm not going to paint the tab. That would be a mistake, I think, at this point. But I do need to do gold paint touch up. So the way I do that with the spray paint is not the best way, but it's the way I do it. Does that say have a pretzel day? I'd really like to have a pretzel day. Maybe when I'm done with this stream, I would have a pretzel day. So this isn't the best way to do it. This is not a how-to show. I would not recommend this. What I would recommend is that if you were a master modeler, that you would have the right kind of plastic filler putty and that you would fill in all these gaps so that they wouldn't show. And then you'd repaint the whole thing with the spray paint so that it looked beautiful. and not do what I'm doing, which is B work. It's almost B minus work. Okay. I don't have brush paint that matches. So I need to use the spray paint. So I take a little bit, spray it into a container like that, and then take a brush like this. I'm not going to use that brush. I'm going to use this brush. And then while it's still quite wet, dip it in there and very lightly paint over the spots that need touching up. Trying to do it in a way that does not leave brush marks. And when I have done this in the past, it has been okay. I mean, it's not been perfect, but it's been okay. So deciding not to paint the little tabs will make this go faster and easier. Okay, that's touched up all right. I'm just looking for other places that are obvious. So this paint is not water wash up like the bottle paints are. So what I will need to do is get out the denatured alcohol. I want to make sure this brush is clean because it's one of my 3 go-to favorite brushes. I had a piece of paper towel out here that I was using to clean brushes. Now it's gone. So, I have a new piece of paper towel. Over here, off of camera, is a little jar of isopropyl alcohol that I use for cleaning brushes when water is insufficient. So what I should have done, but I didn't, is in anticipation of assembly, is I should have cleaned off some of the paint on the top of the ridge here. I don't need it to stick very much. I don't know if the contact cement will work on this or not. It would be way easier if it did, because the little, what I'm concerned about is, sliding this in and setting it down, is that unless it sets just right, okay, I think I need to use this. I'm going to try it, and hopefully clean the surfaces first. Okay. This is a case of, wow, I didn't I didn't think this through very well, did I? Nope. I thought through some things. Like I thought through using the outside to hold these pieces together, while they were being held together. And well, these parts don't fit very well. Let's just say if NASA built things to the same lack of tolerance that this model is, it would not have been a very successful flight. No. Okay, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to use the contact cement, even though it's harder to work with. It does its job. And I'm going to put a little bit in the back here. Right along the top on either side. It just needs to hold. The whole thing doesn't have to be covered in adhesive. And this stuff grabs really well. And there's a fair amount of room for forgiveness here, in that the thing onto which the little ridges onto which this attaches are really quite big. They're deep. It's a lot of contact surface area. Okay. Well, I did get the spray painting done over break, but what I didn't do is I didn't eat something, which means that my blood sugar level is crashing, which it usually does after break. No, that's just kind of a tradition on relaxing painting, is to forget to eat things. Probably can set for a bit. Do all of it too. Contact cement is like that. Sometimes they say just let it sit for like a half hour before you before you try to attach the pieces together. This seems to grab more quickly than that. The only thing I wish is that it would be a little bit more liquid. Okay, the gel just makes it hard to apply. But the one good thing about the gel, though, is that it fills gaps, and with how poorly these things are manufactured in the injection molding process, given how poorly that's done, gap filling is a good thing. There have been a couple of cases where, the gap was just really large. So, like for example, when I put the brackets for the maneuvering engines, maneuvering jets on, there's little divots in the sides of the Upside down, that would have been bad. Oh yeah, that grabbed really nicely. That was effective adhesion. This were just a little bit thinner. Just a little, if the gel were just a little bit less viscous, it would almost be perfect. I don't know if they make such a thing or not. I looked up contact cement, and I mean, there's a liquid one, but they complain about it being runny, and that's I don't want a runny adhesive. That's one of the downsides of the model cement is that, like you saw down here, it it just flows too much. But if one is patient with this, as I am being, at the moment at least as patient as I am being, it doesn't take much for it to really grab on and hold well. It adheres to the painted surface just fine. That advantage as well. And you can kind of push it aside. Anyway, let's see if this one sticks. These are supposedly the oxygen tanks. Oxygen and hydrogen that feed the fuel cells. Oh, no, 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 no. There we go. And that one is a little bit harder to deal with because I can't push down from the top. Let's use a clean toothpick, right? Nothing like using a toothpick that is all covered with contact cement to try to push something down where you don't want it to show. So these aren't adhering perfectly, but again, it's like a submarine. You just don't want it to fall out. Okay. Not that it has to put up with, it's not like the real thing where you have to put up with a lot of vibration or something, right? It just needs to set in there. The back of it down. And that toothpick just fell apart. He's one of the round ones. Okay, well, it's on there well enough so that it's not falling out. For some reason, that side isn't adhering. Okay, so there. That's what the interior looks like. And the hinged door goes there, covers that up like that. Okay. And so adequately assembled, one like this. I mean, it's over more, but I can't get those hinges in without taking the back off. Yeah, it opens up like that and exposes the interior. And I'm just going to put this in. Like I said, I'm not going to use adhesive. I'm just going to let it set there. I mean, as long as it stays in, it's not falling out. I'm not supposed to shake this much. So, yeah, there. I have assembled the interior of the service module. There's still a lot of stuff that needs to be done with this, though. Um, the well, this will end up being mounted. This will be cemented on, okay, as will this chunk here. And then this all needs to be masked over carefully because I need to fill this seam in before the seam that will show up here. It'll be a really nasty looking seam. The seam here for the opening door, the hinged door, well, that's just the way it is because there has to be seams because it opens, right? But here, should do probably is paint the whole outside of these things first. It would be a lot easier to paint the outsides of these things first before assembling. But then there's a seam that will show, and I'd take this paper off and show you the problem, but I need to respray this. Well, maybe I don't. It's just you can't see that. You can't see the interior because this will be covered. So this goes on like this. I'm going to just lift this tape up. Okay, I want to show to you the situation. Okay. Put that back. So this is in place. This is where it will be. This will go here. And then you've got this seam. And it just might have to be there. The more I'm thinking about this, the more I look at it, the more and more difficult it will be to fill this in because I don't have a good filler anyway. The seam is going to show there'll be a textural issue. Let me show you this. You can see this. The best filler I have is the spackling compound, and I filled in, you can see that. And the situation isn't that it's a surface issue, it matches the surface, it's that it's a textural issue. It's not smooth. And the auto body putty doesn't work because it melts the plastic around it. And the plastic putty that I have doesn't work because it doesn't dry well enough to sand it. So this is just going to have to be a flaw in the model. It just is what it is. And I need to spray this here. Okay. This shows, you can see, looking at the top here, you can see the color contrast because there's not enough paint on there. All right. And to be honest, there's not enough paint there either. I will have to, no, that's the edge. I'm going to touch that up. All right. Okay, I'm glad I fiddled around with this because it tells me what I need to do. What I need to do is spray paint here, at least there on that corner, so that they match. I need to actually spray paint. I can just touch that up with, I think, a brush. To cement that in, but I'm not going to. All right. So this is the assembly that will now be very carefully set like this inside a box. I'm going to put this tape back on because I need to spray paint here and here. And I have to do that with the spray. I'm not going to do that with the brush all along the edges. It just was not well done. Okay, just not well done. And now I need to do it well. And then I will tape this on the inside, especially these parts here. And I'm going to paint the outsides of both of these the white color and just assemble them as they are and not worry about the gap. It's beyond my skill level. It's beyond my skill level and the materials that I have to successfully do that. And this, I shouldn't have taken this off. I should have inspected it more carefully. This might show. This will be right on the edge here. Be right on the edge here of this. No. Paint this white. This edge is going to be white because it's part of the exterior. It's just the top there that needs to be done. Okay, I'm going to retape this. How much time do I have? About an hour? Okay. This part is the most important part to get done because there's pieces that need to go on here yet, some assembly. And so I'm going to just finish taping this, retaping it as the case may be. Okay. I lied about touching up. Yeah. I'll do that. Maybe, no. I'm muttering to myself. There's just spots. There's just places that are not good. They're just not good. Like here. We need to take more time and inspect the work when I spray paint it so I don't end up with just really badly flawed places like this. And it's not awful, but they just show enough that it is an obvious part of the challenge I'm going to be facing at the very end of this is this top. Okay, like the bottom has this really nice edge. Okay, it's a nice 90-degree edge, right? No muss, no fuss. But this is like as beveled. So the challenge that I am faced with there is getting a nice clean line on it, a nice clean arbitrary line where the line is and making sure it's even all the way around. So in looking at this, you can see the bevel here is I think I'm going to tape up to there, right at the base of the bevel, and the white is going to go on there. I mean, I could, no, that's the edge there. So it needs to be right on up to the top of the bevel. This gray-green color. Yeah, so I'm just fixing this on this. Sorry, I'm just talking my way, trying to talk my way through how this will look best. And I think that's how it will look best. Is if the gray-green goes right up to the top, and then there's just this white edge up there that will be painted the white color. Better. That will do. It wasn't too much touching up. And I think it's successful. I think I was successful in the touching up here. This other one does need to be resprayed, though. There's just too much of it to do by hand. It can't be done by hand. All right. I need to clean this off now. And I do need to get this masked yet today so that I can spray paint the inside of that gold. On Wednesday, what I'll be doing on Wednesday is assembling the inside bits. These little things need to be attached here. Making a decision. I'm not sure how that thought I had it done, but I didn't. There's this whole edge here. The Wednesday decision is, if you can see this here, there's like this detailed stuff here, like radiators kind of, as to whether or not I'm going to try to paint that or just leave it gold. On the box top, where they always show a picture of a model that was built, I don't know, by some sort of modeling genius, I guess. So that there's never any seams showing. The edges are all perfectly clear, perfectly straight. Just A+ work. Definitely A class model building. Anyway, on the box top, that is not painted, detailed. They didn't do any detail on that. So maybe I won't, but I'll see how it looks after it's spray painted. If it looks really unfinished, I might try to just put some detail on there. It's a little bit rough, but it's not going to show very much, I hope. clean. All right. Let me review. The brushes away. Look at me, I'm cleaning up the work surface. I'm putting things aside so they don't spill or break. What a shock. It is shocking, actually. It usually doesn't happen. I'm going to keep one of these tweezers out in case I need it to mess with the tape. This needs to be spray painted. I'm going to leave this out because I need to do all over the tops. I mean, just it's very poorly done, so that needs to be better done. This piece is finished. I'll put it here. This is the finished parts box. This is the base. It's been spray painted, so Wednesday, if nothing else, I can assemble this. Okay, not the rest of it. The rest of it I'm going to be doing taping and outside. I need to paint the outside of it pearly white, but I want to do this and this at the same time, and I need to redo this tomorrow, so I'll tape on Wednesday. So this needs to be spray painted. These parts are done. These little bits, at some point I will spray paint these white, pearly white. If I have time today, I might set up a piece of cardboard with some tape on it to spray paint those. But this needs to be painted gold here. And so I need to do a bunch of taping and masking. I'm leaving the outside of it pretty well covered, but I need to mask off these bits. It's easier said than done, and I need to not have the tape fold over because that little bit, okay, I'd be more concerned about making sure that gets painted gold because I can scrape the gold paint off the edge if I need to. So I'll be less concerned about masking that. Okay, let me figure out to get a ridge of tape along there. This is going to be tedious. I will promise that this will be tedious watching this. Trying to tape this over. Just a little bit of a ridge. It's curved. I can only do a small part at a time. It's narrow and curved. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I wonder if I should use use this borders of it. I want the tape. The tape has to go over the edge. Okay. I'll cover that up later, but it needs to go up onto, but not over the edge. It's going to extend much further out than I would like, but I don't see a way around that. I just need to push it up, I guess. But I want it taped to the edge. Cutting it narrower. Push it down on the edge here. The gray-green to show, but not fold over the edge. So spray painting this, I'm going to have to hold it and spray into that corner. want to err gray-green side, touching up the top of that. I don't really want to do painting the little bit of a lip gold. Would not be that significant an issue, I think. This part is really pretty important because this opens up, right? And so I want gold where I want gold, and I want gray-green where I want gray-green, and I don't want each in the other spot. And I'm doing my best here. We'll see if it works. Hopefully it will. In any case, I'm going to be much more careful. I'll be carefuler. I'm going to be much more careful with the spray paint than I was, obviously, over the weekend, because I want to make sure I get coverage where I want coverage and not where I don't. Like that piece just, I was afraid when I first did it that would be a problem because of the curve, but I thought I got it from the side well enough, and I just obviously didn't. It didn't cover it very well at all. The tape sticks to the tweezers more than it sticks to itself, kind of situation. Okay, I want to go ahead and do the same thing to the bottom here, and then I'll do the critical, wrapping it over and covering up the top and the bottom after I get this edge done. Whoa. That didn't get painted. I'm going to touch it up with it. I could either paint it now and not get this taping done, or I can get the taping done and just touch it up later. I thought it was okay. It definitely is not. It's on the bottom. Okay. Theoretically, one would not bother turning it over, but if you're recreating the Apollo mission, you might turn it over because you'll shoot that way, and then that will. No, wait a second. Oh, this is the door. It opens up. Yeah, I was going to say if it were this part, I wouldn't worry because this would be cemented. You never see the top of you never see that surface because it would be inside. But this is a door that opens, which means that if this were open, you would, and then looked at it from the bottom, you'd see the flaw. I am, like I said, I'm just going to deal with that as a touch up later. Hopefully I'll get the edge right and not get it onto the gold paint. But it would have been good if I'd noticed that earlier. Then I could have done something about it. Maybe even before the break. I wouldn't have been able to do it before the break. This was attached to that, holding those parts in place. I'm having second thoughts about not putting an adhesive on this tank. It was kind of moving around. That's something I can always do before final assembly. If I decide to, I'll put a little bit of something on the back there, on the back bracket, and just push it up against it. Even some rubber cement would be okay if I had some. I know I'm not wasting my time for the most part. The taping has been successful. I'd say like 95% successful in keeping the paint off of where I don't want it. My spray painting has not been successful because too often I've been not getting it on where I do want it. Sorry about that. Joe. Yeah. Priest. Is that, are you? Yes, I admit I still play World of Warcraft. I do that out of, well, there's always more than one reason, but one reason is because I'm old and I don't learn new games very well. And the other is at least I know how to play the character, and it helps me keep some reaction time. I play a holy priest, and so I do healing, which means that I need to be able to look at like a raid list and move the mouse onto the character that needs healing and click the right button and stuff. So I think it actually has helped a little bit, keeping some reaction time capability going. Or maybe it's just out of habit. Maybe, Although there's a new